I think as far as the food goes, when you're talking about what you're making for the holidays, is it that you want to keep a tradition that's emotionally fulfilling for you, that your grandmother had, or that's in your family and you want that a certain way? Or is it also about branching out and cooking new things and developing new traditions of food, and even like taking that walk after, or having a game of touch football, or whatever you would do together after a meal? So it's like thinking about what you want this season to look like for you.
Welcome to the Type 1 and Midlife podcast. My name is Melissa Slemp, a certified nutritional health coach and the founder and CEO of Abundant Health with Melissa, where I help women with type 1 diabetes to feel more empowered and live their best life despite their diagnosis. Each week, I will bring conversations and strategies from guest experts and my experience living with type 1 for over 40 years now. So if you're a woman ready to redefine how diabetes can look and feel for you, then the Type 1 and Midlife podcast is the show for you. Well, hello and welcome. Today we're going to talk about the holidays. I know we are post-Thanksgiving now that this episode is airing. And this is a perfect time. We have Kitty Finklea, our regular guest contributor. She's a registered dietitian that comes in periodically and shares her wisdom. And we're going to start by reflecting on maybe the Thanksgiving and maybe what went well, maybe some things that you noticed you could have chosen better, how your glucose responded. Maybe you had a chance to notice your time in range. And again, this is not about beating ourselves up about what we did or didn't do over Thanksgiving, but just learning from it. So as we slide into the holidays with Christmas and Hanukkah and all the way into the new year with, there's so many parties and cocktail hours and all those things that can compromise our blood sugar. So today we are going to give you some advice on party planning tips and really emphasizing how important it is to stay with those daily habits, like staying hydrated and moving our body. Again, all the things that we know are going to help with glucose mobility, right? And to keep us more insulin sensitive through the holidays. And you have a chance too to hear some holiday recipes. And you can visit my site, abundanthealthwithmelissa.com/recipes. I'm going to share some whole page of recipes for you to try out for the holidays, so be sure to check that out. And you can also visit Kitty at On Track Lifestyles. And come on in. We're going to celebrate this mid-December and celebrate what's coming up with with the holiday plans and our family, and just how thankful we are to have you here in our community as a family of listeners. So enjoy the show, and please reach out with your feedback. Again, abundanthealthwithmelissa.com, and all the show notes here, or all the links are in the show notes. So check it out, and we hope you enjoy the show. Just a reminder that nothing you hear on this Type 1 and Midlife podcast should be a substitute for professional medical advice. Please always consult your medical professional before changing your diet, insulin dosages, or healthcare plan. Well, hello, listeners. We are happy to be back in here. We have Kitty Finklea with us today. Hey, Kitty.
Hi, everyone.
Great to have you back. And if you're a regular listener here, and if you're not yet, we encourage you to download the show and to make this as part of your weekly update so that you can stay in touch with what we're talking about on here. But Kitty is in here regularly, and we are really, really happy about that. So you're bringing a lot of knowledge to the nutrition space that we need with diabetes. So today we get to talk about the holidays.
Yes.
I know. And, I think I want to start with this, this time of year, and we're just now past Thanksgiving. So when this episode airs, we have gotten through the Thanksgiving holiday, and we're a couple weeks away from Christmas. So let's start with what are your favorite foods for Christmas? And, you know, sometimes they're similar to Thanksgiving. I know with us, our menu can look similar for both holidays.
Definitely. I mean, we still do turkey for Christmas as well, even though that's a Thanksgiving thing. We always have turkey, dressing, and then a ton of vegetables. And I live in the South, so
Mm-hmm.
we also have quite a few Southern things like biscuits and
Ah,
and the typical desserts are sweet potato pie. There's a lot of desserts that come in this season. So it's pretty much a typical Southern
yes,
cake.
which can be a little carb heavy, can't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And, you know, our goal here is to not, um, you know, to give carbs a bad name. It really is just awareness. You know, I think you and I both believe in and what we practice and live and eat ourselves is balance. So we're going to do that again right here today and just give you some ideas of how we can make the Christmas dinner and all the way through into the New Year's, how that can look and feel different than maybe it did for Thanksgiving.
Also, I think at this time of year there's more parties, gatherings, celebrations. Just there's more social activity around food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you
So
are so right. Yeah. Yeah. So what do you think? And you know, we talked before we jumped on here. I think this is a good time for our listeners to reflect, you know, because we just got through with Thanksgiving. And it's not a point of beating ourselves up, you know, because whatever happened on that day or around the day of Thanksgiving, it's done with. All we can do is assess it, learn from it, and if we decide to make choices as these holidays are starting to roll through, you know, the next 2 or 3 weeks, that's a long time. It's like you say, it's a lot of social events, a lot of opportunity for food and drinks and desserts and all of that. So I think maybe what our listeners can do is, as we're talking, is to make a better plan, you know, just to look closer at how you felt around Thanksgiving, what your glucose levels, averages were, maybe even looking at your time and range. That's pretty easy to do with our devices right now. So just observe it and decide what you can do differently.
I love
So,
the phrase observe without judgment, and
mhm.
so it's basically if you didn't have a plan, maybe it's time to start on one, especially if you had some trouble during Thanksgiving. Or if
Mhm.
you breeze through, continue doing what you're doing, 'cause
Right. That's right.
people
We can't assume we messed up over
get
Thanksgiving.
skill set all the time, and some people struggle, and life has that ebb and flow where sometimes a season might come around and we're doing great, and another season might come around and we're struggling more. So
Mhm.
how life goes.
It surely does. Gosh. So what do you just on the high end of this topic, what do you suggest when it comes to Christmas and New Year's? What strategy do you use? I'll share, you know, some of the things that I try to do and things that I suggest to my clients too, to make not only what we're eating, but more blood sugar friendly. And I think like you continue to teach us here, just being aware. We had an episode just a little 5 or 6 weeks back talking about ingredients and just understanding food labels and you know obviously you know we want to be picking the real food and all of that, but again the holidays we tend to sometimes we step outside of those whatever those boundaries are when it comes to what foods we're cooking or making, right?
I also think that food is not always just nutrition or fuel. There's also that emotional element to food,
Mhm.
mental health aspect of enjoying traditional foods that you may love, and how to fit those in, how to fit those in.
Yeah,
And I think
exactly. Yeah.
the first part for any type 1 I work with is to really kind of hone in on your carb to insulin ratio
Mhm.
and have that in the back of your mind when you're going through a party, if you go to a party and you're looking over the table, I always say survey the array of foods,
Uh,
think
yeah.
about your strategy as you're doing that, because that's something you don't necessarily have control over if you're at somebody else's house. I mean, you can
Mhm.
always bring your own dish. Um,
Mhm.
we'll do that. And I think that's a great tip as well.
Yeah, yeah. And you brought up something that I do myself, and I've just started doing this in the past, probably because we tend to be going to more social events.
Yeah.
But this may sound funny, but this is what I try to do is I'm always, because we generally know when we're going, so we can have a plan. So earlier in the day, so let's say we've got a 6 o'clock event, something like that, around the dinner hour. I make sure I front load my day. I front
Yes.
load my day with hydration and making sure I get some movement in. And I always have because y'all know I love my vegetables. I always veggie pack a lunch. And what that's going to do, it's going to set us up for success. Not only are we going to stay in we're going to stay in a good blood sugar range for that day with all those factors going for us. But I think it takes off maybe that guilt of, okay, I'm going to indulge a little bit tonight. I may have to, take a few more units of insulin. It's okay. It's okay. Sometimes we need that emotional, like you said, or that mental justification, that validation that it's okay. It kind of goes back to that 80-20 rule, doesn't it?
Yes. Yes. And I also think that, when you say that, I think that's a great point that we just need to enjoy ourselves too and
Mm-hmm.
keep blood sugars, insulins in mind. But I love the fact that you're having an event and you're planning for that.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
part of it. And I love, vegetables are one great thing that can help stabilize blood sugar. So any
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
add at a party, on your table,
Yeah.
wherever, that's something that is a tried and true method while you're
Yeah.
actually eating.
It sure is. And something else, and this is a sneak peek. And I don't know that I've mentioned it to you quite yet, Kitty, because we've got a lot of topics on nutrition coming up. But I plan in the new year, we will definitely be doing an episode on protein. We're going to really do a deep dive. I myself, I'm learning more. I know this is a little bit of a side topic, but it relates to what you're talking about. And it is part about what we're doing throughout the day and how satiating protein is, how it doesn't require, and that's another whole topic, how much insulin it may or may not require. That's all about the portion size. But to start there, the vegetables, the protein and the fat, the fiber, and the carbs is that added bonus once you get all those boxes checked, and knowing that you're putting in those foods that are really going to serve your body, your blood sugar, your energy, and all of that throughout the day. So it is all about having a plan for sure.
How do you yourself, as someone with type 1, deal with sweet treats or something that you have a craving for? How do you manage that?
It's a good question. I'm a planner, generally speaking, because I'm not going to say that I just, sometimes I get caught off guard when we're out, or maybe we decide to have a dessert when we're out. It's a lot easier to do when we're at home, generally speaking.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I always try to think ahead. And if I'm going to have a dessert following a meal, I'll give myself that. That's going to be something I'm going to enjoy, and to adjust whatever carbohydrates I will have with the meal. So it's all about the total, looking at everything. And again, we're looking at other factors that may help burn the sugar. So maybe if I decide to have a piece of, and my favorite is anything chocolate, if I decide to have a piece of chocolate cake or pumpkin, I love anything pumpkin around this time of year, we'll take that walk after the meal,
Oh,
so there's ways, right? It's all about having a plan. So finding a way, whether it's through insulin or portion control or movement, or maybe all of the above, that's
hydrate
gonna,
all of it.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Hydration's a big part of it too. So, and I think that's the biggest thing, is just educating ourselves and being aware of how your body responds to a treat, right?
Exactly. I think
Yeah.
that's a part of it too, because
Yeah.
everybody's different with how their body responds. I would like to get on the topic of alcohol too, since that is such
Sure.
people with type 1. I know that alcohol actually pushes the pause button in the liver to stop making blood sugar. So a lot of people, and I'm sure it depends on what you're drinking. If you have a mixed drink with a lot of
Mhm.
sugar, a juice or a soda or whatever, that's a different story. But it can make your blood sugar drop low, and glucagon doesn't work as well with alcohol on board either.
True. That is so true. Yes.
So I
Yeah.
think aware of, if you decide if you do drink, some people don't, but if people do have alcohol at parties, because there's always so much of that around too
Mhm.
during the holiday season, like really thinking about having water in between a drink, or starting out hydrated, or
Mhm.
what are your tips for that as well?
You just nailed it. And it's that same plan that I have when I know that I'm going to a party later that night. I stayed pretty hydrated throughout the day. That's always one of my daily goals. But I increase that amount even more. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to make sure it's available where you're going to be, sometimes I have to bring my own water bottle with me. It just depends on the situation where you are. Um, because that's an easy thing to get off track with if water is not available. And sometimes it just isn't. Or it's hard to find. So we'll just tell ourselves, well, we'll just get that water in when we get home later tonight. So do the best you can with trying to plan for whatever is, whatever those circumstances will be.
And I think too, making sure you have food in your stomach if you're going to have a drink as well,
Yeah, that's a
and
good
not
point. Yeah.
not drink if you haven't had anything to eat.
Yeah. Yeah. Because alcohol itself, it lowers our inhibitions, and it does tend to make us more hungry. Do you think is that a part of just the way our body's kind of metabolizing the alcohol? I've often
Yeah,
wondered that.
I don't know if we get more hungry or we're just more susceptible
Mm,
to,
yeah.
and it's just easier to say yes and
Yeah.
not
Exactly. Right. Right.
out. Out. Are you
Right. Our
good?
will, yes. We're the will, I guess, our will, yeah, we're more apt to give in when we're feeling relaxed. So yeah, one thing leads to another. But these are all really good things that we need to be aware of. Yeah,
Right.
real important to track the blood sugar. And, I can remember, of course, I've only been wearing a CGM, a continuous glucose monitor, for about I don't know, 12, 14 years now. But of course, that was many years not wearing one. And I do remember back in my mid 20s when I was not wearing them, I remember how much more difficult the holidays were. So there was a couple different things going on. I didn't know as much about food, and I didn't know how to combine my plate with, all the different macronutrients. I just wasn't aware of that. And then the fact that, when we're doing finger pricks, so if you're not wearing a CGM and you're not getting that continuous information, which is so golden, oh my goodness, especially when we're coming into the holidays, and it is kind of like, it's just unmarked territory. We have no idea really what we're going to see. So to get that feedback really makes a big difference. But I can remember just, and not tying it back, but just not feeling well over the holidays. And I wasn't, I've never really been a big drinker per se. I've always been, just a glass of wine, or two at an event or a social occasion. So it wasn't an alcohol effect. It was really just that surge in blood sugar. And the fact that I didn't have a tool that was telling me the information so that I could, respond quicker or sooner.
Right. And I wonder how many type 1s even don't have CGMs, because it's such a
Yeah.
game changer.
It is, yeah, and I know it's the majority want one. If they don't have one, it might be related to insurance and the cost and all of that. So that's definitely an ongoing thing that we're all working on to have access for everybody. So most definitely.
I think too, I was trying to think, Do you ever have people, if they know, sometimes if you travel too, that can be a big, if people are traveling for the holidays, that puts another level of planning and preparation on your whole entire process of taking care of yourself.
That is for sure. Yeah.
I think too, if you have you ever had people or have you ever had to increase your basal rate around the holiday season?
I have. And, this happened when I was in perimenopause. So, this is a recent part of my story that I do share here on the show a lot. So, I'm now in postmenopause. I was early 50s. So, just 4 or 5 years ago is when I was really struggling with this. And yeah, my basal rates were, and I was lucky to be in tune with what was going on and to kind of tying all the pieces together. But I did notice a big difference and that I did have to make those adjustments. And sometimes just 1 unit of, just increasing your basal rate by 1 unit is all you need. It's a very sensitive dose. So, and again, we get the feedback from our CGM to say whether or not that's a thumbs up or thumbs down. But yes, the long answer to that question is definitely yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think for traveling in somebody else's house and don't have as much control over food, and there's not always things available that fit in with your plan, and maybe you are getting more carb and you need more insulin coverage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And another thing I was thinking, again, that was for years and years ago. This is when my daughter was just when she was young and growing up, and we took trips to South Carolina to visit her grandmother. Many Christmases we were doing that. And again, I was just so unfamiliar really with my whole system and my balance. And it just goes to show you that there's always hope. There's always room to grow and improve and to learn from what wasn't working then and how much of a difference it makes now. But one of the things I do remember, you bring up something, is not having control when we're traveling or we're visiting, staying in someone else's home. Do you have any ideas? It may not be the best idea or the easiest idea to pack food with you, but you could also maybe talk with the host or whoever you're staying with and just say, hey, I like to partake in preparing food. And I have some ideas, and this is the way that really helps me, and it can help everybody that's here for this meal. So those are definitely some proactive ways to kind of request.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that brings up another point throughout the holidays. First off, let me say that I think taking some of your own food is always good. Whenever,
Mm,
and again, I don't have type 1, but I always take my own snacks because I'm a creature of habit. I like certain things. I don't like to be surprised. I always want to have a backup plan.
mm-hmm.
I feel like I think that's perfectly reasonable to take some of your own things.
Yeah.
That
Yeah. Why not? Right. Yeah.
Another thing that I've asked is if to go shopping with whoever I'm with, so I can get some of my own things and kind of take care of myself a little bit.
There you go. That's another great idea. Again, it's about thinking ahead, making that plan, and to decide ahead of time that you want to feel well, you want to still enjoy the food without compromising your health. And it's real important.
And I've had people that get on planes and they actually take 2 bags of supplies, one that they check and one that they carry, so that they have enough on board. Because I think if you're traveling for the holidays as well, making sure you have enough supplies is a big thing.
As far as your diabetic supplies, yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Yes, yes. And that's a great reminder too, anytime we're traveling. And sometimes pharmacies aren't open. Things can happen with the holidays. So definitely have a plan. Make sure you have plenty of insulin and resources with you to take care of you. So really, really good. So can you give us some ideas? Let's dive into the food. We talked about some of our favorites, and I already mentioned I like anything with pumpkin and dark chocolate. I'm kind of going down the dessert aisle already, right? But things to do, maybe some more creative ways to cook vegetables. Growing up, many of us, and especially in the South, this is something, it's the macaroni and cheese, it's the stuffing or dressing, right? Different names for that side dish, and sweet potatoes.
Right.
Or really any kind of potatoes. Sometimes rice is part of that menu.
Yes. I think I think one of the things that I think about is higher fiber rices. So a brown rice, a black rice, a red rice can always
Mm-hmm.
mixing vegetables in with those those foods can make a difference. Are you
Mm-hmm.
so I think that's also something I think about. As far as like what your question is, are you looking for like recipe ideas?
Yeah, yeah. And, I'm starting to look myself, just trying to get more creative. And, there's ways to still enjoy those traditional ingredients, but, to find healthier ways to incorporate them. And you just mentioned a few that are really great ideas. And, the first thing that comes to mind is sweet potatoes because, just the name, it invokes sweet potatoes. So sweet potato casserole is it is a hot mess for blood sugar. Let me just tell you that. And again, depending on how you make it, generally speaking, it has molasses included in it, brown sugar, and those sort of things. So it's taking something that's already naturally sweet and adding more sugar fuel to the fire, right?
Right. Now, one thing about recipes is you can usually cut the sugar or sweetening by a third without sacrificing taste or texture.
Oh, that's a good tip. That's a really good tip. Yeah.
A lot of times you can take a traditional recipe and start changing it a little bit. And I've done that with, this was not related to diabetes, but I've done it with a broccoli casserole. I used less cheese, made my own kind of cream of mushroom soup.
Mm-hmm.
So you can always take a recipe and modify it to the
Mm-hmm.
way. And
Mm-hmm.
usually I'll only do one modification. And then if that works, then I might try another one the next time.
Oh, that's a really good point. Yeah, yeah, because you don't want to really compromise the integrity of really what the purpose of the recipe is. But
Right.
if you notice too that a lot of holiday recipes, it's all based on flavor. And we talk about sugar and maybe even added fat. And fat is not necessarily a bad thing, but it is all about keeping it all in balance. But if we can focus on, and again, this is too much to ask for during the holidays, but I'm just throwing it out there. So if we're focusing on, let's say, a green bean casserole, and just saying, okay, I want this casserole I want the green beans to be the star of the show rather than all of the other things that we tend to decorate it meaning flavor it with, that could that could compromise blood sugar. And
I,
sweet potato casserole might be a better example because it's a sweeter dish. But if we can kind of just get back to enjoying the food that we want to enjoy without getting sucked down that sugar trap, because all
right.
that's going to do is just keep adding to the glucose issues that could happen.
I also think this is more of a behavioral thing than a recipe thing, but if you are tasting something, there is what's called the 3 bite rule. Our taste
Mm,
buds are more they're more attuned to flavor for the first 3 bites. So
mhm.
if you really want to taste something, focus your mindfulness in on those first 3 bites. If it's
That's a good one point.
absolutely amazing, maybe you're good with it.
Right. And yeah, that's a really good point. And I've heard that theory before, which makes a lot of sense. And to circle back, because you had mentioned prior that when we go to a party, to array, or to what's the word you use, to do like an assessment of what's there, kind of look around first and decide on, okay, what is that food that I really, really want to try? Because there's going to be things that you don't necessarily need or really desire that night. And another thing I do as well is just like what you said, just taking smaller portions. So let's say there's 6 different carbohydrate portions on that buffet, and you'd like to try all 6 of them. That's fine. But it's like you said, just take a spoonful
Yeah.
and
Take a
to
few
enjoy that. Mm-hmm.
And I've even, even though it's hard to do this at a party, sitting down to eat as opposed to
Mm.
standing. buffet is a big thing. And a lot of times, if I really want to taste something, I close my eyes and really focus in on it because I think there's this whole concept. I just want more of it. When you're in a bite, you're thinking about the next bite. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of people do that. That's kind of what we're trained to do in this country is to consume.
Right.
So I think
Yeah.
really honor what we're actually tasting. That can make us be satisfied, enjoyed, fulfilled with a
Mhm.
smaller portion.
Yeah, I love that. And it makes us appreciate what we are about to eat and just slow down, chew our food. And generally speaking, and I'm just trying to think back to really what that atmosphere is like at a party. It obviously helps if we're sitting because we tend to be sitting and socializing, having conversations. That strategy can work. It can definitely work and be implemented when we are at a social event to eat slower and to enjoy our food.
Right.
Yeah,
And sometimes it's just you're standing at the table kind of grazing. It's a
true.
appetizer thing and it's not a sit
Mhm.
down meal. And
Yeah.
so a lot of times I'll find myself at the table just taking bites of things and I'm
Mhm.
like, "Just come on a plate and go sit down."
Yes, that's another good point too. Don't stand at the table all night, right? Because it can be like the water cooler where everybody's hanging out at the buffet table. And it's so easy. And you can mindfully just grab a cracker, grab a piece of cheese, grab a scoop of this. It just happens. And then our inhibitions are down. And before you know it, the glucose might be on its way up. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So these are really good tips. And I encourage the listeners to take them in and to think about how, look at that party invite list that you already have and to put that action plan on your calendar. And this is what I do with my clients. Let's say they have a party next Saturday night, and then we'll talk about it and say, okay, so what are you going to do Friday? What are you going to do Saturday morning? And it's up to me to kind of touch base with them, hold them accountable. Some of them need a little bit more nudge than others, and that's just who they are. But it's that suggestion and it's following through. And the best part is when they can, check back in with me later in the week, like after the weekend and say, hey, that worked. Thanks
That's
for the,
right.
thanks, because there's nothing better than feeling good about decisions, having a good outcome. And that's what we're hoping this conversation is going to lead to. And we started by reflecting back to what maybe happened or didn't happen with your Thanksgiving meals and, to learn from that and to make these adjustments. Really, really good.
And I think as far as the food goes, when you're talking about what you're making for the holidays, is it that you want to keep a tradition that's emotionally fulfilling for you that your grandmother had or that's in your family and you want that a certain way? Or is it also about branching out and cooking new things and trying
Mhm.
developing new traditions of food and even like taking that walk after or having a game of touch football or whatever
Mhm.
you would do together after a meal. So it's like thinking about what you want this season to look like for you, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's really, really good, Kitty. Yeah. Thanks for that reminder. Yeah. And it really is about, this time of year can be stressful no matter what. And sometimes the fact that we have to watch what we're eating and to be aware of it can create even more stress. With all these situations we were just talking about, we feel like we're the odd person in the room, the odd family member that needs, what grandma might call, special food, or we can't do this, we can't do that. It's hard to kind of weave into that. And I think that takes time for both yourself to have that thinking, that mindset in your own, your own way of accepting the holidays, accepting your diabetes, and knowing that it doesn't have to be anything negative. It really can be a growing experience for your friends, your family, all the people around you. And I know that sounds easy. I know it's not easy. It's something that takes practice and reiteration. And definitely, I encourage people to, just to be mindful of how they're feeling. Maybe get a journal out at the beginning of the season and maybe writing down what your expectations are, not only with food, but with events, and what can you say no to? Because sometimes I think we put too much on the calendar. That's adding more stress. That's adding more opportunity for you to not, make the right choices. So yeah, these are just really good ideas to just I think I used that term at the beginning. Front load. Let's front load the holidays. Let's front load it with a plan to get through it and really enjoy it. Yeah,
Exactly. And, keep the things that you love and get rid of the things you don't love,
that's
or
right.
don't worry about them so much if you
There
can't
you
get.
go. Right. And just like every day of the week, the holidays is another time to give yourself grace, to enjoy the time we have with our family, to feel grateful and to feel very blessed. It's a magical time of year. We are. Um, so what are your holiday traditions, your Christmas traditions, Kitty, you and your family?
Well, our family is all split up now, so it
Mm,
changes every year, but my niece just redid her kitchen,
mm,
and we're gonna all go to her house for the holiday. And she's
nice.
in Florence. It's a 2-hour drive, but we usually spend Christmas with her.
Oh, really nice, really nice,
Now,
nice.
I'm always the one that brings the veggies.
You're that girl too. Me too.
I'm bringing the roasted Brussels sprouts and some broccoli
Mm,
salad,
mm,
that kind of
sounds good. Really good. Nice.
thing. You guys do.
We love Christmas Eve service at our local church, a church that we're members of. And we have such a big community, our church community. So I love that. Our daughter will come into town, spend some time with her. I have some brothers that are close by, so we're either doing something Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. We're kind of splitting our time, and my parents are here as well. So yeah, it is about creating some expectations and really trying to focus on the reason for the holiday. Which is time together and celebrating Jesus and his birth and all that he's done for us. So just so thankful. It's easy for the world to kind of come in and make it more stressful than it should be. And I think that's just another thing that we can just be aware of and more cognizant of. And
And I think women are always trying to do so much.
oh, we are. Yeah.
We're kind of, I think, geared that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Letting
Yeah. We're
go.
trying to please everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's the great thing about midlife is you are able to let go of a little more.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Saying no more and delegating. How about that? Asking for help. Asking for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help, ladies. We encourage you to do that as well. And we'll keep ourselves um, accountable for that too. Yeah. We're speaking to ourselves on that one too, because I know things come at us and it's hard to say no, but always thinking ahead, always thinking, how you want to feel that day and that week, and when the new year starts too. And a lot of the things that we're sharing definitely carry right through into the New Year's. We know that's another opportunity of parties and cocktail parties and celebrations. So we hope that this topic really resonated with you, and we encourage you to reach out to Kitty and myself. Is there anything else that we can add as some words of wisdom around this time of year?
I think that, we've covered a lot of different things. And I think with type 1, you definitely have a full time job 24/7 in relating to that. So giving yourself grace in other areas where you can is going to be very helpful to your overall health and vitality.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Yes. You do matter. And, I've heard many stories, women I know, clients I've worked with, that sometimes the holidays they feel like they take a step back with their care. And it will take more effort, starting in January, whatever that looks like. But just know that you're not alone. It's hard. There's a lot coming at us. There's a lot of choices to be made. And then we have that measuring tool that seems to be dictating whether or not we are, doing the right thing or making the right choices. But know that whatever happens, the future is always in front of us. Better choices, better ways to kind of look and adjust to, whatever situation comes out our way. So there is hope in all of it.
I think too, we don't always think about our successes, our tiny successes. We're so hard on ourselves as women. I think we are. And I think if we concentrate more on our tiny successes, even to our big ones, but sometimes the days I just need to look at the tiny successes. Like I did put that basket of laundry. Yeah. I did do these things.
Absolutely. Yes. It does start on those little steps that, that can naturally lead to bigger, easier steps. So most definitely. So do you, I know we can reach you on Track Lifestyle. So that is your site where you work as a registered dietitian and helping others. And chances are, do you have some holiday recipes?
I have put together, not in front of me right this moment,
okay,
but I could share those with you.
Yeah, most definitely. And I'm going to have some on my site as well. So the listeners will have two places to go. So yeah, you can go to my website, abundanthealthwithmelissa.com/recipes, and you'll see some holiday type recipes, some things to do with that leftover turkey and to get creative with cranberry and sweet potato and all those good things. So yeah, just to inspire you and to give you some ideas. And carb counts and nutritional information is always part of the recipes that I include too. So definitely keep in touch. And we are wishing you all, I know we've got a few weeks, the time this is aired. Christmas is just starting to wind up. And we are wishing you all a very Merry Christmas and a blessed New Year. And we appreciate you, Kitty. You'll be back in 2024, and we have lots more to share. And we encourage you to share topic ideas. If there's anything specific, nutrition and lifestyle related that you would like Kitty and I to chat about and to give you some information, please share that with us. And again, you can find that contact information on my website, again, Abundant Health with Melissa. And I'll be linking all this in the show notes to make it easy.
Great. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year.
Yes, absolutely. Lots to celebrate, lots to be thankful for. Okay, well, we will see you in here next time. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Type 1 and Midlife podcast. And be sure to subscribe, rate, and review right here on iTunes. And you're invited to connect with our Type 1 and Midlife community on the free Honey Health app. Here we discuss the podcast topics in a group chat, a chance for you to ask questions and take action on what we share here on the show. You can find the app link to download for free right here in the show notes. And for free resources, you can visit me at abundanthealthwithmelissa.com. And your support means so much. Thank you.